do well.
Okay. All right.
You said you still get the titles with 5s?
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Oh,
yeah.
rip, I didn't know that.
You can get Gladiator and all that good stuff.
Yikes.
Okay. So let's get into Ally versus Horde PvP racials, and again, feel free to take this as big brain as possible. Already, I feel like we've touched on a lot of low-hanging fruits type stuff. Is there a discussion to be had here, like even at the highest
Definitely.
levels of play? Okay, go.
Definitely. So, for example, if you're playing Warrior Druid as Alliance, you'd want to be typically Gnome, because the Gnome removes like any root, any freeze, like any movement impairing effect. It just removes it, and like typically, like a Gnome Warrior, like you're not gonna have a dispel when you're playing with a Druid, so that's just so big. And like one thing for classic TBC though, which you don't actually see on like private servers right now, is that there's no leeway on TBC right now. On like the private servers, but on classic TBC there might be leeway. So whereas like Torrent isn't very good on like Endless, but on classic TBC it could be so good with the leeway, like just hitting people through pillars. Because I watched a lot of like 2007, 2008 like BlizzCon finals, and the Warrior is legit hitting this guy through the pillar. So I think Gnome is probably like best for Alliance, but Torrent could possibly be best on classic TBC, whereas like Orc is best on like privates, if you see what I'm saying. So like the meta could slightly shift a little bit with Horde Warrior Druid.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, you saw it in Classic. Sony Digital on the PTR for Classic was playing Torrent, and he was just showing it how big the hitbox was.
Yep.
On Torrent, for an example.
Well, that's my buddy Navica was multi-glad back in the day, all seasons on Rogue, and I was asking him, best warrior, and he actually valued the Torrent leeway racial up there with the S tier with like perception and stuff, and I thought that was so interesting. Like, whoa, it's not even a racial kind of, but it sort of is at the same time. Anyway, just to put things in perspective, so you play a ton of Gnome Warrior Resto Druid, and you're just like insane win rate. If you were to go up against an Orc, an Orc Warrior, Resto Druid, like the mirror, essentially.
Yeah.
Like, would you say that you are heavily favored because you have Escape Artist? Does the racial matter that much?
Yeah, we are quite favoured, yeah. Whoever has the racial is usually favoured, 9 times out of 10. But, like, at the same time, like, theoretically, like, the Gnome racial is better. But then, when it comes to the game, sometimes whoever gets the best RNG can win the game, regardless of racial. But, yeah, the Gnome racial is definitely better than the Horde one from Mira.
Yeah. I think coming from a... Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, man. Go ahead.
I think coming from like a rogue perspective, and I usually play like RMP and RM. I think races and TBC actually can change a lot of strats. So like for instance, if Azzy's playing Gnome and I'm playing like Priest Rogue or whatever, like might have to change some strats up. Mainly in 3s though, I would say. Like a Dwarf Priest is just like usually you have to bait their trinket and then you have to bait their PS. And then you should be able to get a kill. But like if you're facing a Dwarf RMP, you're like, he kind of has 3 chances to live because he can actually stone form in Desperate Prayer or whatever, So like that's another like you might not kill him on that go. So sometimes you might have to change your kill target or your strats just around races.
Yeah, which is it's insane, right? Because you would think racials are almost there just for pure flavor, and they wouldn't really affect the game that much. It's something Blizzard put in just as like a not a meme, but what's like some trivial little flavor nugget, but it actually really, really matters so much in TBC.
I think you're going to see the meme is going to be a lot of human warriors from Classic. I'm sure Azzy already laughs about it now. He's like, all these Classic warriors that are all humans and they have their Thunder Furies and they think they're going to crush it in TBC. It's like they're just going to get ruined.
Yeah, the perception is definitely not optimal.
I think people who don't practice for TBC are going to get clapped pretty bad.
Right off the rip, yeah. I mean, I think...
Right off the rip, bro. Season 1's going to be nice.
Here's a little thing, too. This is really self-serving, because I've been playing a good amount of Lock as well as some Druid and stuff right now. It feels like people are heavy undead. And I went into this not knowing what to expect. I went Orc Warlock to start and just really saw this undead meta of everyone running double undead DPR. That's what you're running, right? Requiem and stuff. And like, does that shift? Does that shift the thing? Like, does that make Locks weaker, man? I really feel like, especially in these really high tempo 2s matchups, there's almost no point trying to, fear and stuff like that.
I think Locks are extremely strong, and I think you'll see a lot of top players. They can go either on Deadlock or Orc Warlock for different reasons. and then facing other, undeads. Will of Forsaken is just, it's pretty much a second trinket. Because, if you go into threes, right, I'm sure as you'll agree with me, like, the opposing team will have a fear. Like, there's like a 70% chance. Like, it's either going to have a priest or a warrior or a warlock. You got RMP, RLD, RLP, warrior, warlock, WLD. Pretty much like a lot of the threes, everyone's going to have a fear. It's just going to be big. So having that will for that is pretty massive, especially if you're CCing their healer and, you can't get that dispel. You can use your will and keep going on whatever you're going on. Or even a warrior fear. I mean, people don't really think about it, but it's like even if you're playing RP and you're an orc rogue or whatever, your warrior fear is not getting dispelled off you. Like, that's 8 seconds, you're out of the game. And 8 seconds with a warrior with Death Wish on your healer is pretty clenching. I don't know if that's the right word. Just to watch them for 8 seconds just destroy your healer. Especially if they have all warlock dots, it's kind of over.
Yeah,
that's a very good point.
So, I mean, do you guys, like, if you had to just freestyle our racial tier list right now, just off the top of the head, is there any that you really see at the top of the food chain here, and based on your own personal experiences?
All across the board, I see undead.
Yeah, dwarf is very, very good as well. The stone form is really, really good. I think it's mainly undead. To be fair, orc is insane, really. Like I said, I think the meta might shift on classic TBC, but orc is always going to be sick. Because what's the stun resist? Is it like?
It's like 15 or 20%, isn't it?
15 plus base 5%, so it's 20. And
right. Plus you're going to see people stack the meta gems. So.
And the talents.
Like was.
Yeah, and then you've got the Blood Fury itself, which is actually so good if you can use it effectively. So, for example, if you're playing against Shadow Priest Rogue, or even better, if you're playing against RLP, which is one of the biggest counters for combo playing threes, WLD, if you're actually, when you get like 5 wounds, or you see yourself get 4 wounds, and you're like taking big damage, you just use the racial early, and basically at the end of the orc racial, you'll have no like healing reduction effects. So then what you do, you just use the racial when you see you're going to take big damage. Then after like the healing debuff's gone, the 50%, and you just like pop your Hellstone, the Druid can even NS, and that can get you like out of some really sticky situations. Like, it's actually so good if you use it correctly.
There's nothing more annoying than when your 5 wounds disappear and Blood Flurry, or whatever it's called.
Oh, and one more thing, which is so good though. Like, when you Blood Fury, it removes the wound poison. So then, if your Druid has abolished poison, he's only got to worry about getting off 1 poison, which is the crippling. So you'll get faster dispels, which gives you more mobility to like run around the kite, which is so strong.
So what he's speaking on is a very bizarre interaction where like that debuff you get, where you like Mortal Strike yourself essentially on Orc, it like overrides wound poison because it's
exactly.
I guess, but it's the same. Is it the same amount?
Yeah, it's 50%.
Yeah.
It's 50%, but if you time it correctly, it can really screw rogues over, and it really gives warriors, like he was saying, with Abolish up, it gives them so much momentum because they're not going through 5 stacks of wound to get to that cripple and RNG and all that. It's just that Abolish is ticking off that cripple every 3 seconds, and rogues don't have the energy or the globals to just keep it up constantly. It's pretty hard.
Yeah, it's amazing how such random niche aspects of a single racial on a race can be so high impact, and you guys are...
Orc felt really good. I started with Undead, and I wanted to try all of them, so I went Undead, then I switched to a Gnome, then I switched to an Orc, and Orc was like, those little resist breaks were so nice, man. And a lot of times when you're with the comp, you're not really getting focused as a Warlock. A lot of times it's SL, you know what I mean? Like your partner will. Thus, you can Blood Fury pretty soon and not have to worry about getting damage on you, Unless they focus you because they see that you have it on.
If I see an Orc Warlock, and I know we have to blow it up, like, Chief Shot Kidney's worthless. Like, you gotta Garrote Expose and just pump them. It's the only way.
Okay. Well, another thing before we can move on from racials is a lot of people are excited to play Blood Elves, and I think back in the day we have all these traumatized memories of getting owned by Blood Elves and Arcane torrenting us for a little extra silence. But that, among some of the big brains I've been speaking to, and just in practice too, you don't see many Blood Elves. And do you see the Blood Elf racial good on any race? Can you make it work, or is it something that you wouldn't see other than Paladins?
You'll see it on Red Pally, that's about it. Or Holy Pally, I guess.
Yeah.
That's what was funny about the in-house server, is you see a lot of Blood Elf rogues, so you can tell they're coming from Classic.
Yeah, they're like, oh, it's new, it must be good.
Oh,
but
I get so happy
it's-
when the doors open and I see a Blood Elf Rogue. I'm like, okay, you're getting stuck in a fear, bud.
Yo.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah,
That's
Tactics loves Blood Elf Rogues, and he even switched to Undead pretty much immediately.
Yeah,
Okay.
I saw him do that, and I was like, you learned it real quick on that one.
Yep. Okay, let's move on. Classes and specs tier list. Do you guys feel that every class in the game has a real shot at like pushing titles and playing at the highest levels of competitive play? Every class, or is there a class that stands out that does not have a spec that they can play?
not every class. I think Paladin is severely crippled compared to everything else. Like, they really do have a hard time on TBC.
Even Ret?
Like,
Even Ret and Holy?
Actually, nah. Gee, you're right. Ret can do it, I guess, in 3s, maybe 2s. But
The hard.
yeah. There's not many Ret Pallies, to be honest. Like, it's
You
really
don't
hard
really
to
see
find.
them in the arena, and you don't panic when you see one. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, okay.
Yeah, it's not like something people really play that much. Like, there's a few good Ret Pallies, but I feel like, yeah, Holy's pretty much. It's really, really hard to push with Holy. But yeah,
Are we talking
couple-
5s as well?
Yeah,
but 5s, they can push 5s.
So I think with 5s, you're going to see anything is possible, to be honest. Especially if there's going to be more than, if it's going to be 9 battle groups again, yeah, you'll see Ellie Shamans, you'll see some Holy Pallies and 5s and stuff like that. They'll make it work.
Sorry, yeah, I always forget 5s, man. Always
Yeah.
forget this bracket.
true.
But for the real talk, 2s and 3s, like, no, you won't really see any Holy Pallies up that high. Azzy, what do you think about Season 1 Holy Pally Warrior? I think they do okay.
It's okay, but it is actually kind of rough. On Endless, it wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be.
No?
We actually we had quite good gear as well, but it felt really hard, actually. Some of the stuff was really hard. Like, Warrior Druid and stuff was easy. I don't think we lost to one Warrior Druid, but, like, even Rogue Mage, we were proper hard on Endless.
Yeah. Well, let's go through these classes. Maybe you can comment on some. Some of these are just going to be a non-starter. We'll start with Hunter. Beast Mastery. Best application in the arena, if any. Or you can say pass too, like just literally no place in the arena ever. Just next.
They do. In Season 1, they pump hard, man. In Season 1, they're so good.
Season 1, they're so
Actually,
good.
really. Yeah. I think
Why? Because of no res?
Yeah, pretty much. But, like, the pet does so much damage compared to the other seasons. Like, in Season 1, the pet pumps so hard. Like, you can legit just pop the Beast or Ref CD. The pet is, like, nearly just soloing someone. Like, that's how crazy it is. Season 1 PM.
Very true.
It's insane.
And I asked Rek this on stream, Azzy, and he said, I'll just say what he said. He said that Season 1, he thinks that, and again, correct me if I'm butchering this, Rek, but you were saying double DPS, in your opinion, was the strongest just set up for 2s in Season 1.
I think it is. That's my personal opinion. I think double DPS, like the Rogue Mages and the Rogue Warlocks are just extremely over the top in the early seasons when there's no Brazil.
Yeah, I pretty much agree. Any double DPS is just going to pump. So, like, Rogue Lock, Rogue Mage, like, all these kind of combos are just really, really good.
Yeah.
Like,
you got to think HP's low, Brazil's low, damage is still high, but MP5 is low, and healing is low too. So, just kind of like an equation you just put together. Just makes sense.
And in Season 1 as well, you get my absolute nightmare, and that is Pom Pyro Mage. And it's more common in Season 1 than ever. All you do is legit cheap shot, kidney shot, Pom, CS. The game is over. Like, that's how bursty it is in Season 1. It's insane.
Okay, so if you had to play a BM Hunter, personally, you had to man a gun to your head, what would you run as?
Maybe Dwarf. Or I think the Dwarf is huge for Hunter. The fact you can remove the poisons and stuff, then you can just get like a NS heal, and it's just super strong, I think, the Dwarf.
Yeah. I've been really impressed with both Survival and MM to the control, like a Dwarf Hunter. That's MM. Just the CC chain seems pretty consistent, just like that you just hit with an LS of them a second, you're just scattered into a trap. It just happens every time. There's not really like any skill shot to it or anything too. So
I
thought
hate
Hunters.
so much.
Yeah, go ahead.
I hate them so much.
I thought they were garbage, but because BM doesn't seem that too hard to beat, and then I started versus some like good MMMs, and I was like, I respect him a little bit more now.
It like just depends on like what comp you're facing into him. Like if I'm playing like Rogue Mage into like a Hunter Druid or Hunter Priest, it's like you just go in, you smork, and if you win right then and there, you win. And if you lose, it's just a quick loss. So it's like whatever. At least the pain and torture is just over quick. But if you're queuing like Disc Priest Rogue into like Disc Priest or Druid Hunter, it's just you can't move. Your priest is just popping out just to throw you a shield for a second, and his mana's just drained within like. And all the hunter has to do is literally hit like Focus Viper Sting. There's just nothing the priest can do. He just goes sends his pet over to the priest. He can't drink. It's just and you're just waddling around in this frost trap. You step the guy to get to him, and you shiv him cripple instantly, and he just scatters you.
Or
and then he's back outside of it.
If he's a dwarf, can't you just
or he's
stone
stone
form,
form,
and then you're stuck in the trap?
Or he trinkets, or he gets abolished on the cripple. So it's like outside of your kidney, and when he doesn't have a trinket, it's just like you're just running around, just praying to God that your priest can hold on for a little longer until you can make something happen.
So which spec are you more scared of, right? Because I see some marksman, I see some survival, I see some BM. I don't think BM. Like
I'm scared of marksman.
Marksman, okay.
BM is pretty highly avoidable because it's like you just have to survive the BM. That's in my opinion, at least. He's going to survive the BM, and then
I agree.
Yeah.
Line of sight.
I think season one is just. I don't even think like you don't have the choice of avoiding the BM in season one. You just get wrecked sometimes. Like it's that hard.
Yeah.
Like, it is for Warrior Druid anyway. Like season one is insane.
Would it be like BM Enhanced Shaman or something for season one?
No.
Or BM
Priest. I feel like it's Priest Hunter, right?
No. Hunter Druid all day.
Hunter Druid.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's crazy. BM Hunter Druid.
Yeah, that's nutty.
Okay, well, if we spend this much time in every class, we'll be here all day, so we'll try to tear through it. Okay, let's get on to Mage now. So we have Arcane, we have Fire, we have Frost. Specs, people have always heard of Frost Mages. What do you guys have to say about Mages generally, if anything comes to mind? Rena?
Well, Rek's a mage. Big Rek.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that I know season 1, season 2, they run a lot of Pomparos because there's not a lot of res, and you can get a lot of really good high spell damage out of a Karazhan. And they can rock that with the Pomparo gear. Other than that, I don't know anything about mages.
Yeah. I mean, I'll talk on what I know about Mage. I think that there's probably a few people watching this that probably have more knowledge of the Mage class than I do. I'll just start off by saying that. But, I mean, Mages are just, they're a high skill cap and they're pretty strong. I really like Mages later on in TBC when they have haste, because that's just kind of my playstyle. Like going back to again, like I have a Lich King playstyle, so having that haste is just nice for me. In season 1 and 2, you'll see a lot less casting, and literally all you have to do is just like time your shatters and like ice lances.
I see.
What were the other questions you had about Mage, just in general?
Yeah, I mean, again, this is like low-hanging fruit stuff. We could skip over this stuff and leave the class stuff till last. I really just want to get into the hard-hitting, the real hard-hitting stuff here.
Yeah.
Do what you got to do, Carlos.
Yeah, I mean, help us out here too, chat. I mean, if there's anything, burning questions, chat, let them rip in the chat here. We have 2v2, 3v3 meta, map tips and tricks, movement, UI. Let's try to get into movement and UI stuff. Like, I'm telling you, like, what is your perspective when you watch people play Arena? Are they moving correctly? Do they have the UI set up?
I'm going to let Azzy take this away with movement, because every time I face Azzy, compared to a lot of other warrior druids, there's only a couple that, like, there's nothing worse than a warrior. Like, if I'm playing DPR into his druid warrior, there's nothing more annoying for a DPR is a warrior that knows how to kite at the proper times. Like, as he keeps, people can say, oh yeah, he kites the wounds off. Like, no, it's more than that. Like, he'll get a slow on me before he intervenes away. Okay, and then I'll step him, and he'll know that he needs to intercept back to the priest, which is 20 yards away, and get that slow up on me before. So now he's on the other side of the map. I do not have a step anymore, and my wounds are going to drop off him. Not only that, I'm in the middle of the open, and now his druid, if his druid's good, can just control me, and now he can just go pummel my priest for like 30 seconds. Like, those are the huge things that people don't really think of. So Azzy, you could take that away.
Yeah, what's that, right? Yeah, movement's huge in TBC, man. Music's huge because movement's huge because, like, as a warrior, you don't have loads of mechanics compared to like a rogue, etc. So I feel like you've got to make up for that with just like really good positioning, reading the game, kind of knowing what they want to do, like just as they're about to do it, if you know what I mean. And I think good movement can be like the deciding factor whether you win or lose a game. Like, do you position well enough to avoid the fear, etc., etc.? And yeah, movement is like one of the biggest things in TBC, without a doubt. You got to be at like the right place at the right time.
Mm-hmm. The positioning. I mean, it'd just be really interesting someday to get your 2 cents on how you set everything up on your screen. Have you guys noticed this, chat, where people are usually either really bad at the game or new to the game, or they're amazing at the game when they're playing with full default UI and stuff? Like when I watch Ozzy play, he's not using any bartender or anything like that. He's just got everything default, and he's just just crushing. It's crazy. I feel like I could never play with the target frames at the top left and the standard, but you're making it.
Yeah, I got it different on Wrath of Lich King. It's just I just never changed it on TBC for some reason.
It's tough to say, how to do movements. I mean, I guess it's pretty obvious, like on how you strafe and how you position. What about add-ons on the add-ons front? What is the essential, bare bones, like necessary add-ons and stuff you need to play effectively?
Oof, I could probably so
This is a big list.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go to like 10 or something. So Gladdy's one. Spell Alerter. So basically what Spell Alerter does is... Actually, people might not even know what Gladdy is. So Gladdy basically just shows the arena frames. Like, so say if you're playing against a rogue and a priest, you have a little like box showing a rogue and a priest. It shows their trinkets. Some Gladdies actually show which CDs they have active. So if they've got Step on cooldown, Cloak of Shadows, Preparation. Another one is Spell Alerter. If a target casts a spell, it will come up with their name and whichever ability they're casting right next to their name. So if you're playing a Void Druid Mirror and the Druid's in stealth, and he casts Clone and you can't even see the guy, it will come up with his name and the clone, and then you can know to reflect without even seeing him because you know he's casting the clone. Like, this kind of stuff's huge. I like cooldown count. So if you use Death Wish, then it will just give a timer of how long until the Death Wish is up. Same with any other cooldown. It's pretty nice. One of my favorites is Lose Control. If someone gets like blind, keeping shot or something, their nameplate in your party will actually come up with the CC, and it will have like a duration of how long like it's up for, and that's like super nice. Yeah, the list goes on really, man. I could be here all day.
I mean, everybody's aggressively taking notes in the chat right now, man.
I think you can kind of sum it up, and then people can go through a lot of these stream profiles and stuff and look for the specific ones. But like, you need your cooldown counter. So you want something for enemy cooldowns. You need your Gladdy. You need your arena profiles. You need Snowfall key press. So we missed that one. I think that one's huge.
That's
that
a good one.
All of your abilities react on press down. A lot of players that are coming from retail and classic who have it as a basic, interface option is to make it so your abilities, activate on key press down. You need to get an add-on for that for TBC. TBC Classic will probably be different. They'll change the interface options, but you need that.
WI lets you do it too.
Yep. What else?
The first one that Ozzy was saying, so Spell Alerter. I know I don't have that one. So that will pop up in its own little frame that somebody's casting a cycle, and it won't be like above their nameplate.
No, basically, is it like near the top of the screen at the middle, and it literally just comes up with their name and whichever spell they're casting, man, and it will do that for like the rest of the game, kind of.
Yeah. It's like a DBM
really,
announcement.
Really nice. Yeah, pretty much like a PvP arena DBM announcement.
Yeah. By the way, can you send me yours because I need one for TBC?
Yeah, sure. After this one.
I see. No, that sounds so huge. And so there is no weak auras for like the TBC private servers, are there?
Yes, there is.
Power auras, right?
No. There is weak auras, but you can't use waggle.io to make them. I use weak auras, and I have to make them myself. So like dot timers or boss timers, whatever ones that you'd use. Like my fell armor falls off and I'm handicapped and I can't remember to put it up. I have a weak aura that tells me if I'm drowning in it.
But yeah, swing timer.
You have to make them yourself.
Oh, yeah, swing timer. Very true.
That's huge for war.
I see when you play, right, like every time Mortal Strike comes off cooldown, you almost have like a weak aura type thing in the middle of your screen where it pops up the Mortal Strike symbol.
Yeah, Doom cooldown pulse.
That's my favorite one right there.
Doom.
Yeah, that's nice.
Cool down.
That's my favorite one. That will literally, sometimes I'll forget about completely something and I'll see like Death Coil just pop up on my screen. I'm like, yes. I love it. It's like my favorite add-on for PvP.
I see. Okay. And then also focus frame is another one too. That is pretty essential. Do you? What is your system? This is I think pretty juicy and helpful for people. What is your system for targeting? Just targeting, switching targets. How do you design your keybinds and just a whole UI so that you can smoothly target and use your spells effectively?
But I think the focus frame is a huge one. So what I do is I make a macro, and all it says in the macro is /focus. And so what I do is I keybind it to somewhere on my Naga. I have it on 11, like somewhere near the back. And every time I want to change focus, I either just click on the target and then just click like the /focus macro, and it will change the focus. Or there's actually one other trick. If you right-click someone's nameplate on Gladi, then it will put them on focus like that as well. So I either use the macro or just right-click Gladi, and that's how I assign the focus.
I see.
In the keybind section, you can also, there's a button in your keybind settings. There's just a button that tells you to set focus. You can set it there too.
Yeah, that works too.
So, but your general system too, I don't know if you have a system, but let's say this is the gates, right? Arena starts, you pop out, right?
Yep.
Direct P, it's Ozzy. Are you putting your healer on focus, enemy healer on focus, your friend on focus? Is it situational that you put on focus?
Something's always on focus.
Yeah, it's always the enemy. I never really put my healer on focus. It's always like the enemy's on focus.
I put their healer on focus.
I do like the same thing as him. I do. So my Naga 4, 5, and 6 are target arena 1, 2, or 3. So I can always target whoever I want, like instantaneously. My focus, I have like a shift. What's that mark? Asterisk mark. The squiggly thing next to a 1. So that's keybound to focus whatever I'm targeting. Mm-hmm. So I use that a lot. A lot of the times. So in Lich King, I have focus 1, 2, and 3 also bound. In TBC, I never even did it because I usually have so much. It's a lot slower game than Lich King. So I have. I just got logged off. I have. I'll just right click Gladi. Honestly, like when I'm stunning someone, or if I know I'm about to do something to my focus target and I need to switch it, I'll just switch it over with my macros or keybinds.
I see.
And one thing to add as well, like sometimes, say if I'm playing Lock Druid, say I'm playing against you in Crix right now, and say I'm on Crix, I'd have you on the focus, and then for example, say if I switch on you right now, I might just quickly stick Crix on focus, so then I can see what he's casting, etc., etc. I can see if he's targeting my druid. So if I see Crix targeting my druid and running to my druid when I'm on you, then I might think, I might need to go back. Crix might want to death coil my healer, etc. So the focus kind of like, it gives you an indication of like the next move in a sense.
Yeah, always. It's like whatever your target is, the other target's always going to be the focus, like whenever I switch.
Okay,
yeah,
so that, much. I'm already learning something.
Because you want to keep eyes on both of them at all times.
When I enter the arena, I usually just find the healer, and I'll just focus them, and then I'll just have the DPS as my target, and I'll try to just use them as 2 target frames. I don't think that's how you're supposed to use them. Like, it's dynamic, right? Like, when you switch, whoever you're on and who you swap to, you put the other guy in focus, kind of.
Yeah. Kind of, but like not all the time though. So if you're like a hunter and you're constantly just draining the healer with a focus drain, then you might not even switch to focus because you just focus drain. So chances are like some stuff you might not switch.
I feel like as me as a DPS, I don't know if it's a warlock thing, but I put usually the healer on focus, and then I just have all my macros, all my dots are set to one button to my target, the other button to my focus. So you don't really need to switch targets. I don't know if it's just a warlock thing. Yeah. Okay.
I see. So, and then you also mentioned target enemy, target arena 1, 2, and 3. Those don't work by default, I don't think, right? In the TBC client, you have to use
bind them in Gladi.
Right? So, hopefully with TBC Classic, that they're just gonna inherit some of that modern, technology, and that would just be a more straightforward thing, right? You could just straight up, bind.
Yeah.
Arena 1.
I mean, in the end, it's all the same technically. I mean, you're actually binding it to Gladi is kind of nice because if you use a stock UI, you're actually saving 3 spots where you would put macros on your bars.
Exactly. What about for targeting your teammates? Do you have a system for that? Because
yeah, so if I play Priest or Druid, Azzy's is probably the same. I have Naga, so like my 1, 2, and 3 on my Naga are to target my party 1, target party 2, target party 3, and then I think on my druid I even have like abolish 1, abolish 2, and life bloom 1, life bloom 2.
Yeah. And one thing as well, if you press F1, I'm pretty sure that targets yourself or something, or targets like party 1. And if you hit F2 twice, does it target Crix's pet by any chance?
I use my F1. I'm a lefty, so I have scuffed ass binds.
Oh right, okay.
So.
Mine's on.
Yeah, that's probably how I just did it. Just like if I wanted to pet, I'd either just make like a pet macro or something like this, or yeah. That's how I don't really need to target the healer too much, man. I just click his nameplate just to see how much blooms he's got, how much wounds he got, but I don't really target him too much.
I see. So I'm another thing I learned, and some people in the chat might have learned as well. I didn't even know that you could target party 1. Is that something that you have to bind to Gladi as well, or is that a default?
You can use it macro. You can do both.
I use macro.
You can use macro, or you can go into the settings.
But you make a macro that just says target party 1 without having to do anything Gladi, and you're targeting.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Or instead of target party 1, you would target name, like target Cargos.
Okay.
Or whatever your name is
Yeah,
in the game.
sometimes I'll do that too. Okay. Well, that's huge. So.
But in that way, you got to change it every time you get you're with somebody else, versus just saying party 1, 2, 3.
But I like what Requiem said. So you said you're Naga 4, 5, and 6. First of all, that might be another big tip. If you're a righty and you're fortunate enough to be right-handed by a Naga mouse, do all the big brains use Naga mouse? I don't know.
I think a lot of people do.
Yeah, me too.
I'm bordering one.
It's so huge.
You gotta have it.
I don't use control binds, so I literally only use shift binds and my Naga.
The control binds are hard to use sometimes. You gotta bend that pinky. I mean, you can do it easily, but like when you're panicking, you kind of I don't know.
I think it's just my keyboard. I have a pretty big gaming keyboard. A lot of people have those minis and stuff. It's probably easier.
I actually use shift binds on the Naga as well. Like I use quite a lot of shift binds, so there's like nearly 20 buttons on the Naga itself.
Yeah.
Altogether.
Good tips. Okay. Let's see here. As far as anything else we can think of in the arena, as far as in order to feel like you have enough information to like pilot your character well, you need a lot of macros in arena. It's another thing that pretty much all the classes that you play, you're gonna have to, just learn about what's going to be effective. Druid, you have a ton, just like cancel form this, like just 4 different versions of your abilities. One thing I was curious about you guys when I watch you guys play, so when Ozzy plays, like he has a charge next to another charge, he has a bash next to another bash, or a pummel next to another pummel. Why is that? Have you ever thought about just doing like the control modifier for them, or am I not thinking of something here?
We don't
maybe
use
I have it. You used to it.
The thing is though, like I've set up my warrior in such a scuffed way, like the way I've set up my binds over the years, that it's kind of hard for me to do that, unfortunately. I can't, for example, like some people, they'll do like pummel for E and then shift E for focus pummel, but unfortunately, like I've already got that stuff binded, so I've had to like compromise and mix a little bit of stuff up, really.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Been using the same binds since 2000 whenever classic TV, like the retail TVC was out. So 14, 12 years, 10 years, however long it's been, trying to change them. It's easier to add something than to change up.
Okay. There's another add-on I saw where above the nameplate, like above Requiem's name right here, it would show...
Cooldown?
Yeah.
Icicle.
Yeah, it's Icicle.
It's dope.
Okay,
so I use Icicle. I use Icicle, which is awesome, especially for melee classes, I think, the most, because... as he's always trying to get behind targets to make sure they don't get, dodged or parried or whatever. Same with me. So you're really focusing hard on the character in front of you and which way they're positioning. So being able to see their cooldowns right then and there, like I'll know that his gouge or his kidney's coming up. So like I'll be able to move as fast as I can right when I know that's coming up and put an evasion up or whatever. And then I have like Aisa, which is another cooldown tracker, which is off to my left for like some of the bigger cooldowns and stuff like that, which I can check over every once in a while and know that they're coming up soon.
I see.
But Icicle's huge. It's really nice.
Yeah, to touch on something which Rex said, which is super important. Like you said, if you have the cooldowns above their nameplate, then you're not actually looking at like other parts of the screen to see where the cooldowns are. And as soon as you look away from like the target and stuff, like you're not like as focused as much. But if you can like attack someone and just see the cooldowns like in plain sight without even like moving your vision, then it's just super nice, I think.
Absolutely. So we touched on all some really nice add-ons. I gotta do some downloading after this, man. get those going.
Yeah, for sure, mate.
Okay, so I think that's it for as far as the essentials. Unless you can think of anything else, we can start getting into comps now and just looking at what the most popular 2v2 and 3v3 comps are and why. So let's do that. It's what's more interesting, 2v2 or 3v3? Maybe 3v3.
Might as well get twos out of the way. That will be quick.
Okay, let's go with
Go
twos.
for it.
Azzy, what's the most populated twos comp that you fight?
Rogue Mage, man. Shadow Priest Rogue, man. The fact that you're laughing, man, is not
I know.
cool. It's not cool, right? It's not cool, bro.
Well, he's laughing because
Yeah.
it was as he plays Rogue, Warrior Druid, and that's the hard counter.
Yeah.
You want to
There's a lot of
talk
it.
about that? You want to talk about like the setup between like a Warrior Druid and Rogue Mage?
Yeah, I guess. Like, Rogue Mage, for example, is like probably like the hardest double DPS counter for Warrior Druid. And unfortunately, it's a very, very popular combo. And, yeah, like I said earlier, with the 2v2 being super unbalanced, like, this is just a classic example again. Like, Rogue Mage is just incredibly hard for Warrior Druid. I think it's hard for, like, Warrior Shaman as well. But yeah, there's just certain combos, man. It's the same with Shadow Priest Rogue as well. And the worst thing is, though, like, in earlier seasons, it's even harder. Which isn't ideal for Warrior Druid.
Rogue Mage can make so many mistakes versus Warrior
Yeah.
Druid,
And
and
still
Warrior
win.
Druid can play an absolutely flawless game, and as long as the Mage Rogue just played like at an average decent level, like the Rogue Mage still will win. You know.
Yeah.
And the main
It's
strength here is
incredibly
that you just
one-sided.
you don't have a dispel.
I've
right? So
played
you're just-
against Azzy where they play so flawlessly, where they stop so many goes, and like I know that and he also has to have like RNG on his side too. Like he needs to like resist a Nova with his sure-footed enchant, or like get a good reflect here and there. But even then, it's like so easy just to avoid all that. The Druid has to play perfectly, like charge the right things, get out at the right time, be aggressive at the right time. That's the biggest thing I think is like a Druid that knows when to be aggressive and when to like just go hide. And like
Yeah.
when I fought him, like say like it's you and Desp or whatever, like if Desp is like if Desp is out of mana, you know that the Warrior Druid played it perfectly, and the Mage Rogue is just kind of like it's had too many times, too many kill attempts that just got destroyed pretty much.
I see.
Yes.
So top 5 teams in the 2v2 bracket off the top of the head.
Rogue Druid, Lock Druid, DPR.
Lock
Nah.
Oh, don't disrespect me.
Sorry, bro.
Wait, you
So
said
Lock Druid,
Lock Druid? Okay.
yeah, Lock Druid, DPR, Rogue Druid, DPM, and there's one more which I said the other day on stream.
Rogue Mage.
Rogue. Priest?
It was. I said that one.
Okay. Mage Priest?
That's mainly I think.
There's no shaman up there, is there?
Nah, not really. Not in
No.
twos.
Not in twos. Why is that? As a curiosity.
Yeah, it's way too many counters for Shaman. There's, yeah, like the most traditional combo you'll see of a Shaman in twos is like Warrior Shaman or Ret Shaman, but like they're just not S tier combos. They're not like top combos.
What do you think is the weakness of shaman in that respect? Because I kind of struggle fighting shamans. I don't know what to do all the time. I feel like they actually have more sustain than I give them credit for. And
Yeah, the problem is with Shamans is like they can dispel curses and stuff like this, and locks like really cripple them, and they're not really viable to play with many other classes either. Like you can play Lock Shaman, but as soon as you face like a good Warrior Druid or something, like they can't really do much. Whereas if it was like Lock Disc Priest, it would be 10 times harder game than it would be with Shaman. They have quite a lot of invuln, like
Shamans are super. They have to play like super aggressive, or they're kind of just a meme. To be fair, it's like because they're only heals. You got to think. Druids have hots, priests have bubbles, palms, renews, dispels. Like shaman has an offensive purge, and everything else needs to be casted for heals. So if a warlock comes in the game and they put Curse of Tongues on him, it's like he can only get like 1 or 2 casts off, here and there between spell locks, and that doesn't even include if he's playing with a druid, he's got feral kick clones.
Not even just that too, but also everybody here has a totem stomping macro. So all my pet is doing the entire arena is looking for totems.
Right. And they go extremely fast.
And
So basically, when you
sorry, go for it, man.
I was just going to say, like, when you're playing a shaman against like a locked team, it's just like it's like a time glass. It's just time is just ticking and ticking, and the longer the game is the harder it is for the warrior shaman. 9 times out of 10, because like the curse of tongues and the dots will just break them down over time. That's why they usually got to make something happen fast, or they'll just lose like late game.
I see. And they have to go into a human caster form to put down totems too, right, Rex? So from you as a rogue perspective, you can get the sap on them, right? As long as you know, unless they're starting vanilla with no totems, or are they just sitting in Ghost Wolf against a...
I mean, really good shamans are going to sit Ghost Wolf until you can really tell. I mean, there isn't a lot, I'll be honest, from what I've seen, as he has more longer time playing this, but there's not a lot of top tier shamans. Like, a lot of times I can run in, if it's just like an average shaman, like, I can sprint step him and sap him before he even goes Ghost Wolf, because they kind of have that OCD to like get to this pillar real quick and put out their 4 totems and be ready and then go into Ghost Wolf. I can literally just like sprint in and like rush, just step sap them, open a warrior or shaman before they can even play the game. And then to make it even worse, shamans are so like, people think, oh well, they can shock and they can ground. Like, if the warrior just charges into the middle right here in the map and I sap him behind that pillar, me and my mage can just pummel this warrior, right? And my mage, right as the sap's about to end, he can just take his pet and he can just Nova him LOS. And just Novaing the shaman LOS is another 8 second.
Oh, true though. Yeah, no
CC,
defensive dispel.
You know what I mean?
Right?
Like, they can't play. And the warrior can't even intervene him. He just sits there and just dies. You know what I mean?
So shamans are kind of as susceptible to warriors in roots then, right? That's another thing. They're, like, because warriors are very susceptible, but you can kind of, make up for that with escape artist. You can just root a shaman.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, that's what that's what we do against shamans sometimes. Like, we might just build up combo points. As soon as he goes behind the pillar, my druid will go over, maim him, and he'll just root him at the main, and then he can't dispel the root, and he can't pre-grounding the root anyway because he's in a main, and it's actually like a huge play.
Yeah, that sounds rough from the shaman perspective. So I have a slide up right now called Healers, right? And I think this is pretty juicy content, talking about the strengths and weaknesses of each healer, right? I have been blown away by how powerful the priest is recently. People always hate on paladins, and say they're so predictable and obtuse and easy to play around, but there's got to be more to it than that too. What would you say the strengths and weaknesses of the priest are?
The absorbs are super strong, like the shield. The dispels are insane, offensive and defensively. They just like the fact that they can dispel magic as well. Like, the only other healer which can do that is Paladin.
Master Spell.
Master Spell, yeah, like you said,
Master Spell's huge. You can find rogues with Master Spell. They have a lot of comps they can do. They have mini buffs they can do, especially trash buffs. Shadow Prod is huge because there's going to be a bunch of warlocks everywhere, forcing them to use Spell Pin. Prayer of Mending is the most fucking annoying thing in the world as the warlock. Don't fucking forget about that. Unbreakable Will is 50% stun, fear, and science. Bro, priests are broken. I wish I knew how to play one just so I can fucking play one. I can't. Pain suppression? Bro. I don't want to talk
like
about
Crick said with the Prayer of Mending, like Crick said. So basically, if a priest has Prayer of Mending up, if you're playing a warrior and you're playing against DPR and you're spamming Whirlwind, you're just literally just healing them. You're not actually doing damage. You're literally making the pom bounce from target to target, and you're actually not even doing anything by like AoEing a priest.
That is so insane.
It's so annoying, bro. It's so annoying. I can't dot them. You can't put the pet on them. You can't do anything. You just gotta just fucking take it.
This is so. Would you agree with this statement? Because I, as a student of the game now, just learning this stuff, people are saying, yeah, against a priest, you really can't multi-dot. That feels so horrible as a warlock. Is that? I mean, in your opinion, is that true? Like, you're just healing them with the prayer mending?
Yeah, that's the thing, bro. It really is. It's really rough out there for you warlocks when you got a single target dot.
Prayer healing. It's like 800 healing on it on a short ass cooldown, and it can just spam that shit, and it bounces 5 times. So if I hit the priest, it bounces to Wreck, and then you're hitting Wreck already, so it just ping pongs back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It's so annoying.
Not only that, you single dot, but now that priest is like, oh well, I healed up my guy and I dispelled all of his dots off my partner, so I'm just gonna go for a drink. And you're like, well, I'm just going to send my pet on you. And now the pet hits him, and then it pomps back to him. So it's like,
It's like 3,000. What is it?
You gotta kind of choose. Either way, you're gonna bounce the palm, or you're gonna stop his drink. So,
But every class has some sort of kryptonite. They have some sort of cracks in the armor, right? And it's knowing what those are. And you said, like, Requiem, if you don't know what you're doing up against a rogue and you don't know what those timing windows are where you actually can run away and get away and either just hard cast something in their face, they feel so oppressive. It's disgusting, But there's got to be something like that for Priest, right? What is the weakness as you see it for Priest?
for Priest, I mean, from a 1v1 perspective, it's a rogue. I mean, rogues are the strongest in arena. So say if it ever comes down to a 1v1 in arena, if a rogue has mage food on him, you pretty much can't beat a good rogue with mage food. So I would say rogues definitely destroy priests in a 1v1 perspective of that. Warriors just destroy priests, in the open and mid-game and stuff like that, I think. Hunters can, rip apart priests, especially with the mana drain.
They have no mobility at all. So remember, they have no mobility whatsoever. And a lot of their stuff, they're a very healer that's more vulnerable to dispels than the other healers to dispels, because all their stuff can be dispelled, even paramedic can be dispelled. And
That's a very good point. That's what I was about to say, Crix. Yeah, they have like really, really bad mobility. Like a rogue can just shiv crippling on them, and they can't dispel poisons and stuff. And I feel like, apart from being able to dispel magic, their mobility is like really limited, which is definitely hard for them.
You saw it in the opening video. Like, if a priest is on one side of a pillar and a rogue's on the other side of the pillar, and I want to go kill that rogue, I'll just run over and focus shiv the priest. He'll waddle at 30% speed to get to his rogue to save him. By the time he gets to his rogue, he's out of combat. I'll just vanish around the pillar, sap him, and then open back on the rogue,
So good players will really capitalize on the lack of mobility of priests. Like, they'll set up kills like that, kind of? Okay.
Yeah, definitely, man.
Okay,
would you say they're the squishiest healers, too?
No.
Priest?
No. Yeah. Outside of Barry?
It depends. If you're playing with someone who can dispel the priest shield, so if you're playing Warrior Shaman, and you pop Bloodlust and you're just purging the priest, then mate, they will just flop. Like, the offensive dispels are just so strong. It just depends on the matchup.
Yep.
So, okay. And then Druid is on the opposite end of the spectrum. They're the little Lambo in there, right? They're just like... skirting everywhere, man. I mean, why do you play with the Druid over a priest? What makes the Druid so strong for you as a warrior? What do you like so much about it? Or is there, give us some high IQ takes to if there's something that really comes to mind that appeals to you about it.
I love the freedom with a Druid. The fact that the majority of their healing they can do well, they can move. So for example, especially in threes as well, if we're just playing like full defensive, I haven't even got to worry about standing still for heals. Me and the Druid can just run Africa, let the lock tank the damage, get the fears up, slow the game down, and we just run in Africa together, just getting full heals, just chilling. And I just love the fact that you got so much freedom. Like, they barely ever cast when they need to heal, which is just so nice, man.
Which partners up with the fact that they're HOTS is everybody else is casting heals, which gives you, you're susceptible to interrupt, spell locks, line of sight and stuff. And Curse of Tongues destroys healers. Who cares if you Curse of Tongue a Druid compared, because he has all HOTS, you know what I mean?
True.
Like, almost everything is HOTS, which helps with you when they get CC'd, they still have HOTS taking on the player as well. So I can fear you, but you still, I fear you, but you still have HOTS on Azzy this whole fucking time, you know what I mean?
What about the Warrior Druid versus Warrior Priest mirror? Is Druid Warrior favored?
Yeah, we're favored. Yeah, we can just CC them most of the time. Like, it can get really sticky, especially on the opener, because they're starting off with like shields and stuff. And if you use the shield, when the I'm not sure what the debuff's called, but there's some sort of debuff when you use the shield.
Weaken Soul.
Yeah, that's it. And after a while, that will disappear. So like, you can literally just do another shield straight after that one breaks. So on the opener is super hard because they got a lot of shields and they're just spamming purges and like dispels. But like later game, when you just rotate CC and just like when your Druid needs to innovate, you just like disarm the warrior, like line of sight as best as you can, even sacrifice Trinkets a loss. Like, it's winnable.
Who ooms the fastest, goes out of mana the fastest out of all the healers, generally speaking? I mean, there's so much to this.
Shaman.
Shaman, yeah.
Shaman,
Pally, in that order. Shaman, Pally, Priest, Druid, because Druids have innervate. Question mark?
Yeah.
Probably, but the only thing is with the Shaman though, like, when they're if you, like, when you hit them though, they get a lot of mana, so when they're usually, like, try leave them alone sometimes, because of the water shield. Just give them free mana.
Took me a while to figure out that water shield. My partner didn't tell me that. I'm just wailing on him. Like, dude, how's he getting his fucking mana back?
The pet's just battering him, just giving him mana.
The other thing is Paladin is I feel like is building a reputation now. You know, the more and more videos people watch about DBC, like you always hear the Paladins are so weak in the arena, but occasionally you hear a big brain person say, "Oh, like Warrior Paladin is actually really strong." Like, is there some upside with the Paladin? Are you ever scared of a Paladin in the arena? Like, if you've been against good?
Yeah. I played a 52-minute game yesterday against a Warrior Pala.
Who's Pally? Brent?
It's Wolfgar. And because right now, like, if Pallies have like the Somewhere offset, like the cape, some of the tier 6, even the weapon of Illidan, if targets are under 50% HP, they actually get like healed more through the mace. So there are some sick PvE items which benefit the Palace so much. And for Warrior Druid, it can be really difficult to deal with that sometimes.
Okay. And it seems like Holy Paladin kind of does a good amount of damage somehow too.
Yeah, it does, bro. Back on Endless, before they released the server, they had like a server you could just play arena on, sort of thing, and just chill. Me and a Pala called Oddwaffle, who's actually a really good Pala. I think we were rank 1 for a bit, and we were like 202 for like 19 is Pala War. So even though people say Pala War is super scuffed, like if you're playing with a really good Pala, and you've got really good synergy, you can still make it work, like the right gear itemization and strategy.
So you think Warrior Paladin would be the strongest 2 combo for Paladin? Not so much red, actually? Not red?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Holy Pally Warrior is probably the only thing you're going to play with Holy Pally, really.
Yeah.
Everything else
I feel like it's the only time I see him. Besides
pretty much.
I mean, besides like Resto, Sham, Red, obviously, but Holy Paladin Warrior a lot.
There is a meta you're forgetting about. I did play some games, and it was kind of fun, but it was just memeing. Like, we didn't take it seriously. Shockaden Palm Pyro Mage.
Oh, played it earlier.
It is disgusting.
Really?
Season
Disgusting.
1 especially.
Dude, we nearly lost earlier to that.
Yeah, it's bad. No one even knows about it. There's only probably 2
that?
Shockadens that play it seriously.
They just bop somebody with all their instant, because Holy Shot kind of hits hard. Like, it's crit too, right?
They
always
hit
crits.
really hard.
So you can actually, there's a spec called the Shockaden. It's not like an official spec like Prot, Ret, Holy. It's like this custom spec which you use like loads of spell damage gear, and you're essentially a DPS class in like the Holy spec kind of. And you have like full damage gear, and you just pop wings, Holy Shock with a DPS trinket, and you can actually play like kind of DPS as a healer in a sense, but like it's like a weird spec.
They run Holy Shock, and then they go into Ret and get Sanctity Aura, which is 10% holy damage.
Speaking of a DPS healer, another one that kind of is another aspect of Druid that I was going to play it, and then I got pretty terrified because I don't even understand how they play it, is the Restokin. Restokin does not have Feral Charge, right? And they don't have Swift Mend, I don't think?
Nah.
Nope.
Isn't that just my brain doesn't compute. How do you play Druid with no Swift Mend? How do you play Druid with no Feral Charge? How do you guys feel about the Restokin?
There's a couple. They have Dream State as well, where they don't use Feral Charge either. That's
that
kind
is
of common.
Dream State and Restokin, I think it's the same thing.
It's the same, yeah. It's the same.
Oh, okay, just different names. All right.
I mean, I'll touch on that because I think I probably play with Dream State a little bit more than Azzy, because I think you, as Warrior Druid, you mostly play Feral Charge, right?
Only Death sometimes when he's trolling, but yeah, Feral Charge usually.
So, like, when I play, and I'll play with, like, Trey, I play with Strong Druid, and for Rogue Druid, Season 3 and Season 4, we'll play Dream State spec. And the reason for it isn't actually because of Boomkin form. It's because once you get that far in the talents, you get the, your intel increases, your intellect increases your MP5 and your spell power, plus you also get your spell hit talents going that high, so now you can gem, like, full healing. So, like, when we're playing Rogue Druid, versus just a standard Resto spec Druids, like, he's way up on mana, and it really puts him far ahead in the advantage of being able to CC more. The damage output's a little bit better, and if he ever wants to tank, like he can tank Azzy as a Boomkin, for a little while and solo him while I look for the Druid, for instance. Like, as a Feral Charge spec, he's not going to be able to tank him as much. I mean, I don't know if Azzy, if you agree with me with that, but
No, I totally agree.
Trey can just go into Boomkin form with, keep a regrowth and a rejuve coming out of stealth on him. He can entangle Azzy and just pump some Wrath, Insect, Swarm, and Moonfire into him. And actually drop Azzy, or any warrior down, a substantial amount to the point where it's it's, the druid's kind of like sitting there like, do I come out and heal my druid and get ahead, or do I, just sit in stealth and pray that the rogue opens? But if the rogue opens too late, he's going to blind me instantly. I'm going to have to trinket NS. Now I'm going to get cloned, this and that. So, Boomkin or Dream State, you'll see it mostly in Rogue Druid spec. That's Rogue Druid comp. That's the main spec that you'll see. A lot of, at least high skill cap druids. That's what they'll play.
I see.
Yeah, one of my only pushes was with the Dream State, and he had a lot of PvE gear on. I know that, a lot of bonus healing gems, 18 bonus healing gems, and we did all right. But the fights were so long, he would never run out of the mana pool was much better than the regular druid was. And it was just, the fights lasted forever. I had over an hour and a half fight sometimes.
So the more offensive spec for Resto Druid, the Restokin, actually can go the distance longer than the typical. Yeah. That's so counterintuitive.
But that CC from Feral, that Feral Charge is so nice, man.
Yeah.
Speaking of that Feral Charge and Bash.
And one thing I want to touch on as well, Cargos, is you said that you don't get Swift Men when you go Restokin. Mm-hmm. So basically, typically against a warrior, so if you know the warrior is going to intercept you, you go into the Alkin form because it's got much more armor. Mm-hmm. And then you'd maybe do run out to a quick bloom, maybe either a rejuve, or you go back into Boomkin. Mm-hmm. And then you would start doing CC on the warrior because you can actually cast Cyclone, etc. in the Boomkin. Mm-hmm. So, and you're still getting, you're CCing warrior with all this armor and you're getting healed at the same time. And that's how, they manage to survive basically because this armor, which they get from, when they're casting the clones.
And you can do shit with bark skin on too, right? So you have bark skin, but you're able to still just cast and shit with bark skin. You can,
You're in bear form. It's a druid in bear form that's able to cast clones and damage and tank.
Literally,
yeah. I think it's 400% armor increase in Boomkin form, which I believe in dire bear form it's also 400%. So you're literally a bear that's able to cast.
So why do you run with the other spec then? That seems literally better. It has more attrition, it can go longer, has more damage. Has more control. What's to love for the typical Resto spec?
Depends on the setup though, man. If you're playing Lock Druid or Warrior Druid, you want the Feral Charge really. For Warrior Druid, man, you cannot play. For example, the Dream State, it can go longer, but it's not bursty healing though because they don't have as much healing talents as the Resto tree. Mm-hmm. So if I'm playing against Rogue Mage and I've got a Dream State Druid, we're not gonna win, man. It's just too much to ask really. But if I've got a Druid with Swift Mend, and then he can actually charge the poly, so I'm able to peel the rogue, then the Feral Child gives me more uptime to peel for him basically. So in that sense, it's easier to survive with that other spec. And it can kind of go quite long as well, even if not as long as the other spec, it's still pretty good long distance.
I see. Okay, very interesting. Fascinating, man. I really think we hit the nail on the head with some of that stuff there. Let's move on to threes while we can. We a little bit of time left here. 3v3 meta. So, top 5 3v3 teams in your mind.
WLD, RMP, Shadowplay, Shatterplay. Double Healer. I say that's top tier.
What about RLP? You say that? Was that even that good?
I said RLP, yeah, I think that's top.
RLP?
Yeah, that's the most...
What are the ones you said again? RLD...
no, I said WLD.
Oh, WLD.
Shatterplay. Yep. Shadowplay. RLP. I said Shadowplay, didn't I?
RMP.
Yeah, Shatter and Shadow.
RMP. Yeah.
So amongst these teams in threes, you were saying that it's a little bit more balanced. There's not as harder counters. Any one of these teams could win against any one of the other teams a bit more.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's much more balanced, man. Yeah.
For all you Warlock players coming TBC, take a look at all those R's.
Mm-hmm.
Or L's, you put them as.
L's, yeah.
Sorry, L's. Yeah.
So
for example,
dominating threes.
Yeah, like I touched on earlier, with the fact that Gnome Racial is so good as Warrior Druid because you don't actually have a magical dispel. Whereas if you play with a lock, he can dispel offensively with the pet, and he can actually dispel defensively, so he can dispel CC on me. So that's one reason as well why threes is more balanced, because you add more aspects to the game which you didn't have in 2v2. You got more abilities, more CC, etc., and I think it kind of just balances it out a bit more because the stuff you don't have in twos you get in threes. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. No, 100%. Yeah, there's just more room to outplay people and balance out, more of that rock paper scissors feeling. What about this double healer though? I ran into it a couple times and it felt almost just too like you didn't even get close to killing anybody, man. Because I think it was druid, disc priest, rogue, right? And the priest was kind of like half a DPS. He was pumping damage, and I don't know. Is that
It's very strong. Like typically, it's played with a warrior or a hunter, but some people are playing it with a rogue as well, and it's still very strong with a rogue. And like the priest, he's legit. Like he's not even healing. All he's doing is just dispel on top of rogue damage. And if you've got the druid doing CC, like the priest is not even healing half the time. He's legit just dispelling and shielding. Like it's super hard. Like you've got lost them sometimes. Like when you're taking like huge dispels and damage, you just got like get away and just lost, and then just come back again when you're full HP, or they'll break you down super fast, or just out pressure them somehow.
I think it's pretty even across the board. For like opposing teams to double healer warrior, they're all going to struggle in a certain way. A good RMP should always pretty much, just set up correctly and they won't be double.
RMP is the classic? Yeah, I think your mic switched back to the webcam one or something for a second. It got a little
Did it?
Oh, there we go.
I think my hand was in the way.
Oh yeah, that sounds good.
And WLD is really good against double healer as well. Like it's really really good.
I was going to ask you with the twos things too, like if based on your personal playstyle, gun to your head, you're competing at the BlizzCon World Championships. Which team are you taking to come party with? I assume for you, Ozzy, it's the no warrior.
All day, baby. Yeah. I play well in twos. Warrior Druid isn't really like a title winning combo. Like in twos, it's not very not that strong. If I'm honest.
Oh really?
There's a lot. Yeah, it's just really weak, man. To be honest, it's like you don't really get an easy game as Warrior Druid. Like everything pretty much gives you a hard game.
What the hell? That is a hot take right there. So what would you say is the best combo then?
The best combo in twos. It's got to be Rogue Druid, Lock Druid, DPR, which is Disc Rogue, and there's other stuff too, man. But mine's going blank.
Lock Rogue, maybe?
Lock Rogue's not quite on the tier as like Lock Druid, Rogue Druid, DPR,
Right.
but yeah, it is up there though. It is one of like the stronger combos. But like this stuff is like more stronger. Like Warrior Druid's got way too many counters to be at the top, really.
Wow.
You got some people asking, I don't know unless you said it and I missed it, the two healers, best choice for that double healer?
Oh yeah, Disc Priest, Resto Druid usually, or the other healer setup you could use is Holy Pala Resto. Not quite as good.
And does Fury have a spot at all? Ever?
Fury Warrior, never, ever.
Okay,
Ever. Yeah, they don't have any kind of healing reduction, right? So
And then someone
It's
else
just
asked
terrible.
Requiem, what is can you only be sub? Is it pretty much sub only? I know there's a mutilate build, right? Or a
If you watch my stream every once in a while, me and Willertons will cue some Shadow Priest mutilate, and it's just a meme. It's
funny though. It's a lot of damage.
subs. You're only a constant like plays with mobility.
the damage of mutilate though is it's more damage as mutilate. Is that the upside?
Mutilate has more burst damage.
They don't have shadow stat.
Yeah, but I mean anything with the slow. I mean, you only have one vanish. You only have one sprint.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have cheat death. If someone resists your kidney, it's just like
Yeah.
What about Whizcleave? What's Whizcleave?
I haven't-
Priest Hunter Druid, is that what that is?
Seen too much Whizcleave through the endless.
I haven't either.
So I don't really have like an expertise on
What's Whiskey?
like God Comp, and I mean he did mention Shatterplay and Shadowplay. Those are the only ones I've seen.
That's crazy to me, man. I'm still like in shock that Rogue Druid, the classic like legendary twos combo, actually has a rough time at the highest levels of play.
No, Rogue Druid doesn't.
Oh,
Warrior
I
Druid
meant
does.
Warrior Druid, my man. That's what I was saying.
Yeah. Like if you want to get titles in twos or actually get far in twos as Warrior Druid, man, you really gotta go for it because it's super hard.
Super
For
hard.
sure. Yeah.
Azzy just makes it work.
I try to, man.
And so, if you're Warrior Druid versus Rogue Druid, this is such a self-serving question because I'm playing some Rogue Druid. I feel like the Warrior damage is higher and the pressure is higher, no? Than against Rogue.
Kind of, man. But like Rogue Druid, for example, I played like the best Rogue Druid in TBC yesterday, and like, for example, Blind is a 1 minute 30 CD and Shrink is 2 minute.
Mhm.
So basically, every time you trinket a blind, you're basically on a timer. Because as soon as he gets the blind back, you're not going to have trinket. So what the good rogue druids will do, like, as soon as you trinket, they won't even want to, like, kill you. They'll be like, okay, we got trinket now, we just chill. We just play defensive.
Yeah.
And then we get our blind back. And then when the warrior has got trinket, we're going to blow him up. So it's not all about constant pressure. It's more about looking at the enemy CDs, thinking, okay, he's done this, we need to do this. And, like, yeah, it's really, really calculated stuff. Like, stuff like that.
I mean, this may sound super dumb, but like when I'm playing, we're kind of just freestyling, trying to just trade damage effectively, right? You know, when you're in trouble and you're about to die, you trinket, and vice versa. But when you're playing at that top level, it really is very premeditated. When you're setting up a kill, it feels like you're on the same page. Like, okay, we're gonna do nothing for a little bit and wait for the specific cooldown to come back.
This is like the super like end game, like really top players. This is what they do, man, for sure.
Like Rex said, it's scripted when you get up a little bit higher, right?
Yeah.
It's really scripted. It's where you walk in the arena, you see the comp, you know exactly what's going to happen. Not at our level, because we're not up there like them, but at their level, it's like you open the doors, they see what it is, they can play out the next minute and a half, wait for someone to fuck up, trade CDs, and then that's it.
Yeah, I mean, if you look back at, early when I was coming to TBC and I was playing with a druid who played rogue druid at a high level, and me and my Lich King gameplay, all he would say to me is, "Rec, just play off the second blind. That's all you have to do. Just play for the second blind. So make sure you have advantage for the second blind, so we can match something up for the second blind, and we win, because it's true. You have 30 seconds there of just dedicated time up on someone if you play the second blind."
Is it because if it's blind into sap?
Mm-hmm.
Blind into sap, blind into roots or clone, or majority
learned it so much,
advantage for a blind sap. Yeah, and then now after that you have either three entangles, 3 clones, or sometimes both.
Yeah, I'm learning so much, man, because I'm looking back on yesterday. The amount of times we died in that window between Trinket being back up and getting blinded again was so much. It was happening so much. So that's
huge, bro.
Yeah, that's the classic, I guess. Just the second blind, and it's huge. So that's even more reason to just use that blind as early as possible.
Yeah, exactly, man. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, what about on the 3 side? If you're going to BlizzCon, you're going to compete in the World Championship, what team are you taking, and what do you think are the strengths? Like, why are you taking it?
WLD, man. All day, man. This is my favorite combo for sure. It's just so good for me. Like, it's just no other combo in 3s, in my opinion, for me, like, which comes close to it. Like,
you beat RMP, is it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think RMP is not even my most hated combo, to be honest. Even though it's, like, typically the best combo, like, through the expansion, it's not my most hated, actually. Like, Shadow Play and RLP, for me, is more harder than RMP.
So Shadow Play doesn't have a Mortal Strike, though. Isn't that kind of weird? Right?
Yeah,
it doesn't have a healing reduction, right? How does that?
Shadow Play is just about burning fast as shit with lust and everything with the shaman. You got to nuke everything. It's just doubled because you're running with the Shadow Play is a Shadow Priest Affliction lock, not a SL lock. So it's a Affliction lock, Shadow Priest, and a shaman. You can run with the Resto Druid, but it's better with the Resto Shaman. And you just got to nuke them down before they fucking destroy you. It's really fun and really strong season 1, I believe.
In WLD, are you running as Affliction or are you running as SL?
SL. The only time you run Affliction is with Shadow Play or with the Shadow Priest. 2 Shadow Play or 3 Shadow Play. I don't know, it just works better with Affliction. I guess more dots for them to have to dispel, I think. I'm not sure about that.
Affliction is just more damage, just more pressure.
And left them all too, bro. It's crazy. You can't dispel because of unstable Affliction.
Yeah.
I mean, Shadow Play and Shadow Play, they both have slows. They don't have a healing reduction, but they make up for it with just pure damage that can get thrown out. They'll play the middle of the map, and whatever poor melee runs in the middle of the map, they're just trapped there between the frost slows. Now they have an unstable on them. They can't get dispelled. If the priest dispels the slow, you'll get the unstable, and he'll just get silenced. And the amount of CC. So, are we talking about shaman, warlock, mage, or
shaman, warlock, shadow priest?
Oh, I thought we were talking
I see.
like MLS or something. Yeah, it's just pure damage, I guess, right?
Now, as the seasons progress, though, the meta can't always be the same, right? Is there any comp that is perhaps the strongest right out of the gate here, season 1?
Yeah. So like, Disc Priest Lock is insane season 1. Rogue Mage insane season 1.